make the dining experience interactive. Have your guests take part in the cooking process, have fun with it, socialize over making the food, and there's a little less pressure on you actually making it excellent.
People are coming to experience your house and your way of doing things, so that you give you.
That's the
you don't
way
give them
I
them.
See it.
If you want that, go to their house.
Don't think so much about how am I going to come across, how is my party going to be, but I really appreciate the people who want to be part of it, and I want to give them a good time.
From the Zoomerplex in historic Liberty Village, the Zoomer with Libby Znaimer.
Welcome to the Zoomer. I'm Libby Znaimer. Have you ever heard of social capital? It's those trusted personal connections we build with the people in our lives. The connections that have been shown to provide various health benefits. But as we age, our social capital can decline, whether it be from losing our groups of work friends after retirement, having loved ones move away, or friends and family members pass away. More and more physicians say that maintaining our social capital is important to our physical and mental well-being. But something as simple as having a few friends over can lead to a sense of anxiety, especially if you're hosting solo. Today, our experts will prove that you don't have to throw a grand affair to have a good time. But before we dive in, let's tee up the topic.
Forget the idea that a party needs to be an over-the-top affair. Gather the gang and have a laugh. It's good for you. An Oxford University study showed that women who spent time with girlfriends twice a week had a stronger immune system and a decrease in anxiety levels. So here are a few numbers to get you started. 200 napkins, the number to have on hand for a small party. $20, nothing says party like a big bowl of punch. 67%, the number of guests that will RSVP yes. 4 hours, the amount of time food can sit out for. 10 degrees, the temperature at which it's too cold to entertain outside. $0, the cost of an electronic invite. Indeed, studies show the benefits of social connectedness are every bit as powerful as adequate sleep and a good diet.
Okay, so we know this is not just about having a good time. There are numerous studies that show how much we all benefit from socializing and why it's even more important as we age. Ami.
Well, my area of study is loneliness. And we know that loneliness is connected to things like bad health, high blood pressure. It is connected with older people, even to dementia. It affects not only the quality of life, but the length of the years that we live. It has a great stigma to it. And people walk around, many people, very lonely, and they don't speak about it. And I'm glad that we're doing something to get it out in the open.
Laura, why is it so hard for some people to just get together?
I sometimes think people focus so much on the food that they stress themselves out, and it's not about that. If you put in your head that you have to do a big meal and behave like a restaurant, then it's intimidated for even you and me, I think. Julian's a chef. So I think you have to let home cooking be home cooking and let people participate, and just keep it simple and not, I don't know. I think also spaces are an issue. People worry about how they'll be perceived. And in a lot of housing that's being built now, dining spaces are being left right out of the architecture. All these condos, there's no room even for a table. So how do you gather?
Any way they can, you know, wherever you can. If you have to throw it in the backyard, throw it in the backyard. If you've got to do it in the kitchen, do it in the kitchen. Right?
I do it anywhere.
Everywhere.
I've lived in so many places,
Yeah.
but I think part of what helps with loneliness and part of hospitality is vulnerability and being willing to say, okay, this is me, take me as I am, and it sort of, it puts everyone else more at ease too, if you just be yourself.
And sometimes being able to say, you know, I tried this recipe and it's a little overcooked or it's a little something, right?
Absolutely. And a big part of what we do is we teach people how to cook, and we break down all that, the walls of feeling overwhelmed or feeling like you're just not good enough to serve, to cater a meal yourself. So what I try and show people to do is actually make the dining experience interactive. Have your guests take part in the cooking process, have fun with it, socialize over making the food, and there's a little less pressure on you actually making it excellent,
If
right?
it doesn't work, you blame them.
Exactly.
Look at the mess you made.
You got to eat it. You made it.
What about socializing over making the drinks?
It's almost identical as a chef. I would love to get everyone else involved, and let's do it together. So it's more interactive, and it creates more of a bond with each other as well. We did something together. It wasn't, oh, I went to a party. It's we did something together, and that's the difference between you know, just doing something to say you did something, or to actually be social and to feel some emotion and get involved and use a little love. We can keep it simple, and that's the best way to do anything, especially in the kitchen or in the, on the bar. Keep it simple.
Ami, what do you tell people to take that? Sometimes it's a first step that stops people. It's like, oh, I can't be bothered, or people won't want to come to my house, or what. How do you get people to take that first step?
Lonely people have problems with social risks. We all take them. They're afraid to take them. They're also super sensitive to rejection. And when people come to me in my private practice and they say, I'm lonely, I don't know what to do, one of the things that I try to do with them is help them get out of learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is when we grow up and we're being attacked in some way at home or outside, and no matter what we'll do, we can't get out of it.
How much of when you see this is because somebody may have lost a loved one or a close friend, and how long does it, you know, how does that affect different people?
Loneliness can be viewed as coming from two sources. One is reactive loneliness, which is happening because someone lost a close friend, somebody lost a lover, someone lost a father, etc., etc. But there's another loneliness that is essential loneliness, and this kind is intertwined in the person's personality. And I've had couples who came to me and said, look, we love each other. And the man said, in that case, I do everything with and for her, and she still maintains that she's lonely. And it's almost not related to what he's going to do. The loneliness is part of her. And she will need some therapeutic help to come out of it. In terms of reactive loneliness, loneliness that happens because of the situation, one way is to attempt to change the situation or our reaction to the situation.
I have two kids, a 2-year-old and a 3-month-old, and we find ourselves, my wife and I, in a bit of a state of loneliness occasionally. We're not going out and socializing as much as we used to. We're kind of locked at home. And the types of people that we're used to socializing with, well, if you don't have kids, then we end up not seeing those people. So different part of our lives, but I see a lot of parallels, definitely. So for us, we're always trying to invite people, but there are a lack of people available because they're in different parts of their life. They're with kids, they're not with kids.
But aren't you also limited as to who and when you can invite? You have little
Absolutely.
kids.
Oh, dinner's at 6 p.m. for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you on that.
And listen, that's why research suggests, I'll say something which is not socially acceptable, kids are not good for a marriage. Kids are not good for the marriage. And things are really changing after the parents have kids.
No kidding. Well, there you go. When we come back, we'll mix up some simple cocktails and mocktails to impress your guests. Stay tuned.
Now you have a black raspberry mojito. Give that a try.
How many more of these do I have to try? Welcome back. I'm here with Rob Berry. He's the co-owner of the Bartending School of Ontario, and he's going to show us some easy peasy cocktails.
Easy peasy, something from your fridge, something that you could do really quick and still delicious. So we're gonna start out with a basic daiquiri turn into mojito, turn into a sour real quick. So I'm gonna get you to volunteer and help me out. You're gonna put this in there, squeeze that into that glass over there for me.
Okay.
Perfect. All right.
So we're gonna
squeeze one whole lime.
Okay.
So one lime per drink. This is basically what you need if you're trying to make a party or any of that jazz. One lime per drink to make a drink. So we've squeezed the lime juice, and now we need to make a bar mix, which we call lime juice with sugar. And we make sweet and sour. We want to balance sweet and sour. So we're just gonna add a little bit of sugar to our glass and quickly give it a stir.
Okay.
And just stir it up and get the sugar to all dissolve.
Okay.
So we've got a good dissolve on it. Next is our mint. So you're gonna grab all this mint and you're gonna spank it. Spank that mint, bad mint, good mint, very good. And you can smell that mint right now. You can really get a bouquet of it. And so instead of ripping it and shredding it up, spank the mint, throw it into the glass. You're golden. Beautiful. We're gonna grab our spoon and we're gonna pull the juice with the mint and we're gonna mix it all together. We could put ice, rum when we're done, but we're also gonna put in our wonderful crushed ice.
Okay.
1 ounce of our lovely rum liquor. In she goes. And then we add a splash of soda water.
Just a splash?
A splash, you don't need much. We don't want 7-Up or soda. We don't want a lot of that. Basically, we want the rum.
Okay.
And the mint. Let's get to the point here, right? Let's get to the point. Now we have our mojito, and then
I love mojitos.
it's good to go. Mojito.
Am I allowed to taste
Please
that?
do, please
Okay.
do. And if you don't taste it, I'll be upset. It's pretty good. It's all right, it's pretty good. We're gonna grab a simple syrup over here.
Okay.
And we're gonna grab a raspberry simple syrup. You guys don't have any simple syrup? You got raspberry jam at home? Perfect. All right, we're gonna add some raspberry to it.
And what does it become?
We're gonna turn this into another drink in just a second, but now you have a black raspberry mojito. Give that a try, real quick.
How many more of these do I have to try?
It's like it's a problem, right? Big problems to have.
Just forewarned is forearmed.
Wonderful problems to have. So we want to go even more and more and more and more. We can grab our drink that we have. And we're gonna grab our strainer. We're gonna strain the ice from our mojito. And now we're gonna add egg whites. Adding egg whites to a drink, you can grab an egg and do the egg jazz with it.
Okay.
Or we can just grab egg whites.
Oh.
All right, we'll do this quicker because we don't have very much time. So we're just gonna grab a splash of egg whites, and it works out to be about a 1/4 ounce per person that when you're making the drink. What we wanna do is add air to this and agitate it as much as possible, like meringue, and then go crazy, crack it, and now we should have a really pretty drink with it. We can add some raspberry crushed pure leaf iced tea on top.
Oh, that's pretty.
And then we're gonna grab our orange.
Best to all of this to be done with an apron.
No, not necessary. Not necessary at all.
Okay,
Cheers,
another
try
taste.
that.
Cheers. All right.
Wonderful.
Ooh. Lovely.
Wonderful. I didn't know you guys are dying over here. And one last quick drink we're gonna do real quick is the most famous Canadian drink of all time. It's called a Bloody Caesar. And we're gonna use Walter's famous Caesar mix. You can put this with your eggs. If you've ever tried this stuff, it's pretty awesome. I'm just gonna put some on the bar here. And to rim a glass, we squeeze the lime right around the rim, real quick. Hit the rim as quick as you can. Ice. Using a lemon or lime, it gives you that flavor with it as well. Ice. And then our, obviously, Tabasco, Worcester. But we have different flavors of Tabasco here. We have habanero, we've got chipotle, but we'll just use the basics so you guys can have a quick one. where's your sister sauce or Worcestershire sauce? Just go enough till it gets to the bottom. If it doesn't make it to the bottom, you didn't give me enough. This is your spice, this is your additive. This is what makes the Caesar taste awesome. So don't forget the where's your sister sauce. Horseradish, if you have it, by tradition, it's not Tabasco, it's horseradish by Walter Chell. Salt, pepper. We're also going to do some Montreal steak spice. If you have maple syrup, it's always a good idea. Say you have basil in the back in your garden, spank the basil, throw it in. Basil, tomatoes, right, chef? Just saying. All right. All right. Vodka. Beautiful. And Clamato juice. Today we're going to be using Walter's smoked maple.
You like this Walter guy.
He's the inventor of the Caesar in 1969. We sell more Caesars than McDonald's sells Big Macs. So if you're gonna do it, might as well do it right. All right, and last but not least, our Caesar. Squeezing a lime inside is always a good idea. I forgot to put all my spices in, but we're gonna do it now anyways. You should put all this flavoring agents in the bottom before you add your Clamato juice. So spice your rice first. We're gonna use a little banana pepper juice, a little pickle juice. And sometimes it doesn't always have to be vodka. I've used whiskey, I've used gin, I've used tequila, black whiskey. Gibson's whiskey was wonderful. 40 Creek, wonderful. Oh. Whoa. All right, that'll just explain it all to you right there.
Lovely.
Any of these drinks that we have here, we can always add more of a flavor. Everything good?
Still upright.
All right, all right.
And if you want to turn any of these into a mocktail, you just take out the alcohol?
Don't put any booze into it, and you could add other flavors. Here we have Double Dutch. We have a cranberry ginger tonic, and we could add that to the fizz here, and that's going to add more of a fizz to it and elevate the drink as well. So don't always have to drink, but it's always a good idea. Wonderful.
Okay, thanks so much.
You're very welcome.
Delicious. Okay, we'll have more when we come back.
Perfect.
You can take a ton of pressure off yourself by just inviting people at the last minute because expectations are non-existent.
Okay, welcome back. We've had a drink, we're loosened up. Now, before we get to the food, let's talk about why so many people get stressed out at the prospect of having people over or throwing a party. Does it have to be as stressful as, people make such a big deal out of it sometimes?
I think we were talking in the break about spontaneity, and I think you can take a ton of pressure off yourself by just inviting people at the last minute because expectations are non-existent. You know, if you invite someone and say, come for dinner on Friday night, they get all ready and they expect something. But if you say, I'm boiling spaghetti, do you want to come over? Then they come over and they get spaghetti and they're happy. So keep it simple.
You know, I entertain a lot and some of the best parties that I've ever had are like that, last minute, and also the least expensive, like the least fuss, a jug of something and a couple of dips that I made from scratch.
Absolutely. Look, I think most of the cuisines that people connect with the most are the simple ones, or as chefs call it, the peasant cuisines. All right, my background in Jewish cuisine, total peasant cuisine. Simple, inexpensive ingredients, just cooked with love. So it really doesn't have to be flashy. We don't have to do French fine dining to impress our guests on a Friday night. We just have to get some simple ingredients, put something nice and easy together, something that you know you're gonna knock out of the park. Maybe something from your childhood that can speak to you so you can speak to others and connect.
You know what? I'm thinking it's probably better if you're not worried about knocking it out of the park.
And if we bring in psychology a bit to the discussion, then what we need to do is get out of the self-centeredness. When people are very worried, how am I going to come across? How is my party going to be? If you just throw an evening and don't think so much about how will I be presented through it, but it's wonderful to have people around. I really appreciate the people who want to be part of it, and I want to give them a good time.
I think any time is a good time. Even if you think it was a bad time, it was still a good time because you're still around your friends. And you got to stop making excuses about doing this, doing that. Just do it. Just be around, be social, just do it. You're putting yourself in the situation you don't need to be put in.
You know, I always find that the most important part is figuring out the people that you're putting together. And I know that a lot of people that I've put together at our home, they become friends.
Me too. I mean, I think that's why it's good for as many people to be hosts as possible in the world. So I invite lots of people who are single or who are without anybody else. And I think I like to host. Not everybody does, but if you do, you should do it because there are all those people out there who need
Well,
inviting.
exactly. And if you're a single person and you host them, they owe you an invitation.
That's
so
right.
That's right.
Well,
And sometimes I think very unpredictable mixing, like mixing age groups or throwing in a wild card in a group that has got together so much that they need a little injection of life.
New blood.
So, yeah, new blood.
And
That's all
And a
fun.
bit of alcohol, and it always helps.
Well, that's the
New blood and some
loosen.
alcohol.
I say answer the door in your pajamas, and that's a great,
Absolutely.
great way to take any pretense out of the evening, and then everyone's comfortable, right? Or the equivalent of pajamas in some kind of casual atmosphere.
Hold it right there.
I was invited
know
to
where
a
you're
party
going.
once, and everyone was told to wear pajamas.
Pajama parties, yeah.
It was, I
Toga
think it was
parties,
New Year's
pajama
Day.
parties, yeah.
And they made breakfast at night, and we watched a movie in our pajamas.
That sounds like
That's
fun.
fun, yes.
Takes the seriousness out of it.
For sure.
Do you have some suggestions for really inexpensive menus? Because I think that is probably a real barrier for a lot of people.
So absolutely. See, the only issue that comes with inexpensive is coming off, as we say, as like cheap. And we're really not putting our best foot forward. But a really nifty way of kind of turning that around is take an inexpensive meal like pizza night, for instance, and make your own dough or bring in fresh dough. Have everyone put together their own little pizza. Then all of a sudden you've taken a cheap pizza night and you've turned it into this experience where people are having fun and, oh, what did you put on yours? Oh, you do pineapple. It starts breaking the ice, creating conversation. So we're going to be preparing a nice inexpensive meal later, and I'll show you exactly how we can work that.
You know, I don't think I've ever been at someone's home and thought, this is a cheap meal or this is an expensive meal. I mean, people
But some
might worry.
people- Yes.
This is totally in your own head. When you're inviting the right people over, which you should be, friends, family, close ones, even perfect strangers, friends of friends, you should be inviting people that aren't just going to judge you like that. But like we were saying, it's internal. You're creating the story in your own head. You're setting your own standards and expectations. So yeah, if you're afraid of that and you want to not break the bank, then do something like that.
It really depends how you approach it. People who I invite, especially if they are friends, are not coming to do a psychological evaluation of who I am.
You're going to do it on them.
Don't judge.
They come to have a good time.
Oh, yeah. But we have to I was going to say back to the money thing, that we should feel okay about giving according to our means. So if someone is just given a
Absolutely.
lobster supper, doesn't mean you can't do the chickpea night, you know, if that's where you're at.
You know what? There
Yeah.
is a real issue these days now, and that's if you have people with all kinds of food preferences. You've got
Right.
vegans,
That's
you've got
tricky.
vegetarians, you've got flexitarians. How do you
That's a new
navigate
one.
that?
That's a new one.
Don't invite those ones.
Look, I always say cook for the masses if you can, or have readily made or available substitutes. So in terms of spice, keep it mild. Allow the guests to add their own spice. In terms of seasoning, chefs have a big issue with this, is seasoning for the masses. A lot of chefs like things salty. Knowing that, if you like something salty, tone it down, have it saltier than how you would prepare it for yourself. Let people add their own. And in that sense, it's really easy to avoid gluten, as I find 10% of my guests at least are gluten-free. It's just make the evening gluten-free. It's easy, and then you don't have to worry about that. Right?
Okay, so much for pizza night.
Gluten-free
I have a
crust.
question. I have a question, which my wife and I discuss all the time. I'm vegetarian. And when we invite people, I have no problems to say to them, you're going to get vegetarian food. My wife is an excellent cook. She will prepare good meal. And she's saying, no, look, people are expecting and they eat meat. And are we going to deprive them of meat at their evening with us? And I don't have any problem with that. So I wondered, what are kind of social norms?
It shouldn't matter. If they're coming to your house and you're my guest, this is what I got.
Deprive is a big word for one dinner.
I know that. I know.
So look, if you're going to a 200-person wedding, I expect meat. If I'm going to a dinner party, whatever you're going to prepare for me, I'm going to appreciate and enjoy. I'm not going to be running out to a fast food joint afterward. I'll enjoy it. Now, if you want to prepare for vegetarians and you want to serve meat, it's great. My suggestion, just don't make the vegetarian feel alienated.
No.
That's it.
But I think people are coming to experience your house and your way of doing things, so that you give you.
That's the
you don't
way
give them
I
them.
see it.
If you want that, go to their house.
I think you nailed it. It's you be you, no matter
Right.
what. This is my budget, this is what I offer, this is my house. I don't live in a big house, I don't have a big budget, and I don't have this. This is what I got. If you don't like it.
Okay, when we come back, the chef will show us some easy, quick, and inexpensive options for entertaining, and that's next.
You just pop these on, and once it's at a rapid steam, you're basically looking at about 3-4 minutes to
Okay.
cook these up.
Welcome back. I'm here with Chef Julian Pancer from the Chef Upstairs, and he's going to show us how to whip up a quick, easy, and inexpensive meal.
Great. So I've chosen a theme for this meal, because that's always a great spot to start. Pick a theme, pick a focal point, whether it's an ingredient or a cuisine that you love or you know your guests are going to love, and then go with it. So I went East Asian street food. Okay, I've traveled through Southeast Asia myself, and when I'm in Toronto, this is what I go for to eat. So I wanted to bring you something that means something to myself so that people can feel the love. And another point to make is your guests are going to be making most of this meal with you.
Okay.
So there's a social aspect here, and if you play your cards right, you can get them to clean up for you after, okay?
Oh, I like that.
So the meal is Vietnamese rice paper rolls, and we've prepared a few here just to show you, but this is a really easy technique to teach your guests. That's not what we're going to learn, though.
Okay.
What we're going to learn here is dumplings. So this is shumai. This is a very, very common dumpling that you would get at any dim sum restaurant. The filling you've already made, and the sauces you've already made. And then you bring your guests over to the counter, you're drinking, you're socializing, and then you're just putting it together.
Okay, let's
so
do it.
let me give you a quick lesson, okay?
Okay.
So we're gonna grab one of these wrappers here, and sometimes they stick, so just make sure you only got one there. I'm just gonna grab a new one. How about that?
No,
Okay?
wait.
Sometimes they stick.
Okay.
And then you figure it out,
okay.
okay?
Yeah, I
Okay,
did.
so here's our dumpling. I'm gonna take one of yours, because
Okay.
you got nails, not me.
Okay.
So we can put it on our counter here.
Okay.
And then you take a little bit of your filling. Now this is...
Not too much, right?
No. So this is a raw shrimp and pork mixture, but you can easily switch that up for chicken, veggies. We've already got some cabbage and carrots in here. That's a perfect amount.
Okay.
And then you get your glue,
Okay.
also known as H2O, right here.
Okay.
So we just want to dab our edges. Okay, and then when you're ready, you just grab one corner, you fold it over, meet up your edges here. At this point, if you want, you can take it in your hand, and we meet our edges up, and pinch, 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 pinch. Now, we're not throwing this into boiling water or anything. We've got our bamboo steamers here. So even if you don't do a perfect job of closing them, in fact, shumai are slightly open dumplings, so
Yep.
they're not going anywhere. So this is another one where you can really overstuff your dumpling here. So let's grab quite a bit of
Oh,
filling.
more.
Oh yeah, right in the center. Make it worth your while. And I'm gonna go ahead and dab my edges a little bit here. So now, watch this one.
Okay.
So grab two of your corners, like I am.
Okay.
There you go. And pinch them in and pinch them together. Perfect. Now just turn it around.
Yep.
Do the same thing to the other side. And these are actually really easy to grab with chopsticks now, right? You just grab
Okay.
the corner and then up and in.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I put too much in mine.
No, you didn't. That's perfect. That's gonna steam and it's gonna bind together, and that's not going anywhere.
Okay.
So then we throw the lid on, and by the way, these steamers you can grab for like $4 from most Asian grocers. All you do is throw.
I wasn't quite sure how to use them, so you just put them in a frying
Yeah,
pan?
so I've got pans on high heat here, just with some water.
Just a little bit.
That's it. You just pop these on, and once it's at a rapid steam, you're basically looking at about 3-4 minutes to cook these up. So also with that interactive and social component is once you've filled up all of these dumpling steamers, these bamboo steamers, you can actually put one of these burners, whether it's butane or induction, right in the center of your dinner table. And then everyone has their raw dumplings and throw it in the center and you cook throughout the evening as you're hanging out. In the meantime, you've made your Vietnamese rice paper rolls. Why don't I just tear one open for you, okay?
I think so.
Yeah, here, we'll grab one of our trusty chopsticks. So right here, we've got just some, my namesake, Julian, of cucumber and red pepper. I threw in a little bit of scallion and some lettuce, and you're just rolling it up like back at your high school parties.
Is there...
Not yours specifically, you don't have to assume anything. And then for dessert, mango sorbet. So any
that
sorbet,
sounds complicated.
Oh, does it now?
Yeah.
So any sorbet really is just frozen fruit blended together with something to flavor it. So my
In
mango,
just a blender, or do you need a ice cream
blender
machine?
or a food processor, whatever works for you. I find food processor works a little bit better just because it's wider base and, you know, blender. You
Oh, I
have to-
thought you needed one of those ice cream blessed chiller things.
Not at all. Nope. So you can buy pre-frozen chunks of mango, throw it into the food processor with a little bit of lime juice. If you want to sweeten it up with something, honey, maple syrup, sugar, blend it up, and that's sorbet. That can be ready to go in the freezer, and it's super inexpensive. You can probably get away with 8 dinner guests, probably $10 for dessert.
Wow.
Sound good?
Sound good.
So between the rice paper rolls and the dumplings, you've got plenty of interaction, plenty of social connection with people. Really, because at the Chef Upstairs, we teach cooking classes all the time. We do interactive cooking parties. So we find that the icebreaker happens as soon as you walk in the door. As soon as people see a kitchen, it's the heart of the home for us. Everyone connects with the kitchen. So it's all of those kind of discomfort or lack of social anxiety, all that's just thrown out the door as soon as you walk in. And the same thing with your guests. They come to the home and they smell your miso soup already on the stove. And they say, "What's for dinner?" I said, "Well, let's do it. Let's have fun."
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Awesome, my pleasure.
Okay, we'll be back with more right after the break. Stay tuned.
And then now the conversations go from to actual real conversations, to in-depth, and then into personal. And then we get into knowing each other.
Welcome back. It's time for questions from the audience, and we have Debbie at the table. Hi.
Hi. My question is, if I'm inviting a number of single guests to my house, how do I ensure that no one feels isolated from any of the conversations, that everybody's getting along? Is it my issue to worry about them, or do I leave it up to the guests to try and intermingle amongst themselves?
Well, I think people have to be grown-ups, and there's a responsibility in guests too to get along and not to. If you see you're getting on difficult territory, someone gets on politics, and you see it's iffy, you can try to steer it away. But it's up to them too to say, you know, people have different opinions, and anyway, I don't think it should all be on you.
Well, and I always say, no money, no religion, no politics. And then
What does that
everything should be
leave?
okay.
Then what?
The weather.
I'll take it all.
I totally disagree. I think you should be able to talk about anything. I think in a world where everyone says taboo, 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 we shouldn't talk about politics, we shouldn't talk about that, well, then you're not encouraging the debate. And maybe that's what we're lacking of nowadays.
That's why Trump was
the
chosen.
debate. That's why.
Here we go.
See, no politics.
I think in the world.
But it doesn't have to be that way, right? It can be, let's have a drink and it's starting a conversation, and it doesn't matter which way the conversation is going, we're having a conversation, and let's learn about each other and what it's all about with each other.
See, but it depends. You know, we've had lots of great conversations, but sometimes, especially when we've had a room full of journalists, there have been some rip-roaring fights.
Oh, yeah. I've seen
It's
some too.
like-
But I think the more that we do this, I mean, you come to the table, you don't bring weapons, it's a place of peace.
Exactly.
It's true. And I think more of that would make the world a better place because people would learn to listen and to accept differences of opinion over the table.
And a drink always helps.
Yeah, for sure. And good food.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Barb. Hi, Barb.
Hi there. So my question is for the bartender.
Shoot.
So you made some wonderful cocktails over there.
Yes.
I myself make mojitos on a regular basis.
Always.
And so it seems to be that another person, by the time I'm done, I need 10 drinks every 10 minutes.
That's why.
Can you, or how do you make those types of cocktails in a larger quantity so that you, as the hostess, aren't constantly mixing those drinks?
Perfect. So we had a picture of mint on the side there. Just grab your bouquet of mint, and instead of doing the lime, the sugar, and all that jazz from scratch, because that's all you had in your fridge, well, say you did have the time to prepare for it, you buy lemonade or limeade, and there's your sweet and sour mix right off the get-go. So ice, lemonade, limeade, mint, rum, you're done.
And it doesn't compromise the integrity of
No,
the
especially if
taste
you're
of the
using
drink.
a Minute Maid limeade, lemonade, something that's, not too powdery, like those powdered juices and stuff. You want to use a concentrate of some sort that's a better quality, because the alcohol is where everything gets going. And then the food comes in, and then now the conversations go from to actual real conversations, to in-depth, and then into personal. And then we get into knowing each other. So at first it's a little tight. Hey, there's supposed to be that tension. There's supposed to be that fright. Because if you're not a little bit scared, then you're going to be too complacent. So we want people to be a little bit on edge, because it keeps you sharp.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome, Bill.
Hey, next up, Roberta. Hi, Roberta.
Hi, good to meet you all. My question is, what kind of foods can you prepare or serve when you're dealing with a limited refrigeration situation, say a picnic or an outdoors event?
So if I can, without going too far in depth on this, we have a temperature danger zone. That's the bad temperature of holding food, right?
Right.
We can only hold it in that temperature for up to 4 hours, but you got 4 hours. So chicken is out of the fridge 3 hours before your guests are served dinner. Everything's sitting on your countertop on either baking sheets or disposable aluminum trays, just ready to get fired in the oven to cook up the rest of the way. So now you've freed up all that fridge space, so when your guests arrive and bring you a bottle, you can put it in the fridge, and you've actually made your life a lot easier. Like our Rob, our bartender, said, it's pre-making the mix so that it's just easier once the guests arrive. So you've already finished preparing the meal, and it's just ready to get fired in the oven.
It's all about the prep, like you said.
That's it.
I hate to bring up something so retro, but casseroles, do we never make? It's such a useful thing to have those square pans that you just fill with whatever thing you're making. Find an old cookbook and put them slide it in the fridge, and then you just go fridge, oven, make a salad, and you're hosting.
Okay,
And if you don't have the room for the fridge, just put ice in the bathtub.
I like it, thank you.
Then you can put everything in there, in the sink, in a bucket, whatever. But it's all about the prep. So if you can always have all those juices and all that prepped up, I like gin, I like vodka, I like tequila. So then we can all have the same drink, but just a different base liquor, and you all use that same juice. So we can make a million drinks. Just it's about the prep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
When we come back, final thoughts.
In a previous episode of The Zoomer, we discussed traveling. Joanne wrote on Twitter, Retirement opened up a whole new world of travel for me. I finally have the time to visit places around the world that I've always wanted to go. Next up, Paris. #loving retirement. Susan was in our audience for the show and had this to say via email. When I go to a party, I'd expect there to be food options for everyone. Whenever I have people over, I make sure everyone is able to have a good time. And I also make sure that everyone can enjoy the food, no matter their dietary preference. Keep the comments coming in and connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and via email at rsvp@zoomermedia.ca. Don't forget, for free tickets to the show, go to www.universe.com and search Zoomer Media and log on to www.thezoomertv.com for full episodes and more.
Welcome back to the Zoomer. It's now time for final thoughts, starting to my left.
Well, I think we live in very inhospitable times, and that can make us all very nervous. And I think by hosting at home, we're taking a certain power back and making the world a better place. So we should all host more often.
I think that as long as you give it love and you're honest to yourself and your guests, whatever you prepare and however you prepare it is going to be beautiful, and just be welcoming.
Wonderful. I think we said it earlier on, you be you. It shouldn't be about, oh, I hope I impress and I don't do, it's too much stress. You should be having a great time, and that's what it should be about you and your guests.
We talked about loneliness, and we need to acknowledge that it's part of human nature. And it's okay to feel lonely, but we don't have to remain lonely. And socialization is one way of dealing with it. It's important to do away with the stigma of loneliness. And once we admit that we are lonely, we can do something about it.
That's very good advice. And thank you for being with us. Take it from me, I entertain a lot. The most important part is the people. Some of the best parties I have had were impromptu, the least planned, and the least expensive get-togethers. So give it a try. We'll see you soon. It's time to zoom out.